Ellen's gone for a walk.
Well, how did you know that I...
Oh, I'm quite psychic.
Oh. And is your sister psychic, too?
Oh, yes, much more than I am. Only I'm not her sister.
You're not?
No, I'm a cousin. I've lived with the family ever since I was a child. Mrs. Barrett adopted me.
Good evening, Mr. Holland.
Oh, good evening.
In all fairness, I must confess the nights here seem more beautiful than they do at Beacon Hill.
Infinitely. I think everything's more beautiful here.
Ellen has gone for a stroll.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello.
Am I intruding?
Not at all.
Well, I'm afraid I owe you an apology. It was rather clumsy of me at the table to speak of your father.
That's all right. You couldn't have known.
You were very close to your father, weren't you?
Yes, we were inseparable. From the time I was able to walk, we were both happiest when we were together.
Engagement ring?
Yes. But I believe I better be going in now. We're getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Good night.
Good night. Don't you think somebody ought to go look for Ellen?
What for?
Well, it's pretty wild country up there. Perhaps she's lost.
Oh, Ellen knows her way home.
Well, I know, but it's been over 12 hours. Suppose something happened to her.
Nothing ever happens to Ellen.
Well, I think I'll take a ride before I turn in. Are you all right?
Oh, yes, perfectly. I just wanted to be alone for a while. Thank you for coming to the funeral this morning.
You knew I was there?
Yes, I saw you as I rode by.
I hope you don't think it was just curiosity.
No, I understand. I'm glad you were there.
So am I. I'll never forget it.
Father used to say it was like riding across the front lawn of heaven. We made a pact to bring our ashes here when we died. If you die first, I told him, I'll bring yours here. If I die first, you'll bring mine. Yet I know now. People you love don't really die. Shall we go now?
I'm not a bit sleepy, are you?
Not in the least. Have you forgiven me yet? What I said about your book.
Oh, that.
I have an altogether different opinion now. I finished reading the book last night, and I found it quite absorbing.
What made you change your mind?
I got interested in one of the characters.
Which one?
The author.
Well, I assure you the book is not supposed to be about me.
Oh, but it is, whether you like it or not. Every book's a confession, my father always said. Of course, you have to read between the lines.
And did you?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what sort of man am I?
You're a bachelor. 30 years old. You were born and raised in Boston, and you went to Harvard, where you edited the Lampoon. When you graduated, you went to Paris, and you studied painting for a while. You have a lodge in Maine called Back of the Moon. Before you went in for writing novels, you were a newspaper man. Your favorite sport is fishing, and you speak French and Spanish quite well.
Well, shades of Sherlock. Do you mean to say you got all that just from reading my book?
Just from reading The Dust Jacket. It was all there under your picture, you know.
You know, if you lived in Salem 100 years ago, they'd have burned you.
Why did you give up painting?
Well, it was like this. In the first place, I discovered I was colorblind. But since I was interested in post-impressionism, that didn't matter much, did it?
No.
However, when I made the acquaintance of the boys in the left bank, I found that they lived in squalid garrets, and most of them were miserably undernourished. Have you ever known what it was to be really hungry?
I'm hungry right now.
Good heavens, you must be. You haven't had dinner, have you?
No lunch.
Why, you poor thing, you must be famished. Mrs. Roby told Emily to leave you a tray.
Good. Oh, there it is. I'll get it.
Let me.
Tell me about your place in Maine.
Oh, it's just a cabin. A shack, that's all. But it's set down in just about the most beautiful country I've ever seen.
Why do you call it back of the moon?
Well, there's a lake up there, shaped like a crescent. Danny and I used to spend all our summers there.
You love Danny a lot, don't you?
Well, naturally,
Is that why you've never married? Because you've had to take care of him?
No, not exactly. The way I feel about marriage, well, it's like, thank you. It's like that trip I made to Europe after I was graduated. I hadn't the least idea of going abroad. It just happened. I was taking a walk with a girl, and we went down to Boston Wharf and watched a freighter being loaded. And I liked the looks of her.
The girl?
No, the freighter. She looked good to me and she smelled good to me. I didn't even know where she was going, but I knew I was going with her. And I did. Hey, this is about the tastiest sandwich I've ever eaten. What is it?
Turkey. Wild turkey. Ever hunted them?
No, I haven't.
It's tricky shooting. They're sort of scary, but they're so big and clumsy, they hate to take wing. It's a lot of fun.
I'd like to try it sometime.
How about tomorrow?
Well, if Glenn has no other plans.
I meant just the two of us.
I'd love to.
Why did you come for me tonight?
Well, I don't know exactly. Everybody assured me you'd be perfectly all right. I guess it was just an impulse.
Like the time you took the freighter?
Yes. You knew I was coming up there tonight. You were waiting for me, weren't you?
Yes. And you came, didn't you? Well. Good night.